All right, we get the this podcast. We'll start out quickly. We have Brian Hennigan is with us, as well as Chad Shank and Ggreg Chaille. And we have a special guest. We just shot a segment for Viceland.com with Kliph Nesteroff. He's the author of The Comedians. It's a history of comedians from the 30s through like the 80s, and then they forced Louis C.K. in to actually sell it.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
And we just filmed a segment about comedy classes, and is it possible to teach people how to be funny? And, of course, you know, I have opinions. But we got done with that, and we wanted you to just do a quick set on the podcast because you have to zip back up to Tucson.
Yeah,
First
well,
question.
Yeah.
First question, what's the difference between Vice.com, Vice the show on HBO, and Viceland, which was what I first learned about in 2003 or something?
Viceland is a TV channel, which is what we just filmed it for. So it's not for the internet, it's for a cable station. Vice on HBO, I guess, is what they did before they had a TV station of their own, and now I think that they have their own TV station eventually. That HBO
they can dump Bill Maher because, if you could teach comedy. But anyway.
Well, we were talking beforehand about this sort of gimmick that people use where they have predictable punchlines, and Bill Maher always does that thing in his monologues where it's like, one is a ba-ba-ba-ba, the other is a black guy. You know, that, whatever that switch is, that is every
Are
single
you allowed
time.
to talk shit about Bill Maher at this point? Because I don't want to get you fired. We do
Yeah.
have a buyer's remorse clause on this podcast where if you say something you shouldn't have, we'll take it out. Before
I have a tendency to make some people
I think
angry,
Bill
but-
Maher is very quick. I think he's brilliant at what he does in his format. His stand-up is fucking awful, just like he took classes from the guy you showed me.
I like Bill Maher's program. I think it serves a good purpose in like political discourse, and he has people like Matt Taibbi and Jeremy Scahill, very great like
People
political,
I've never heard of, which is why I don't watch it.
but like really smart, like people that wouldn't otherwise be on TV at all with their politics. But his comedy, when the last writer's strike happened and he went back on the air with some kind of exemption without writers, he did New Rules, which he wrote himself. And oh my God, that was a sorry sight, I gotta say.
Well, then now you're getting me off track again into the writer's strike where you go, oh, really? I remember the first one saying, or the last one, oh, really? We're not going to get Suddenly Susan anymore and Third Rock from the Sun, and I don't even know the local or updated references for that. But it's sad you could only be here for overnight.
Yeah, we're flying to Nashville to do a segment about Christian comedians, the church circuit. So that's why we're.
That's going to be so much more fun.
I don't know. Like I'm a little bit intimidated that I'm going to be ambushed by like I'm going to be baptized or something against my will. I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
You won't laugh. I guarantee you. No matter what happens, you won't.
Who doesn't laugh at liars? I mean, come on.
Well, he explained this. You guys weren't in the room, but he explained for the segment this Christian comic who, the way you described her, is basically telling people why it's funny she had to ignore the church and why the church shit on her mental illness and suicidal tendencies.
She's still very much, I guess, a born-again type person, and she does strictly Christian venues, or it's at least marketed that way. Church-going people come to her gigs, but she talks about how she was suicidal well after she had found Jesus and was born again. And hypothetically, the theory is once that happens, you're happy and you're full of joy. But she was suicidal. So she talks about that in her stand-up act.
And how
she called her kids
faith shit on it.
Yeah, and she called her kids into her room and was going to tell her small children, Mommy's not going to be around anymore. You'll be better off without me. So that alone was controversial for this Christian audience.
Now pray before you go to bed.
Yeah. And then,
I find that hilarious. I don't know if the rest of you think it's funny, but I think it's fucking
Duplicity
hilarious.
is great. That's
I know,
awesome.
but the interesting point Doug makes is that she plays the same role for her constituency as he plays for his, which is to make them laugh at something that's deadly serious, you know.
Well, playing to the demographic is like, political comedians are very guilty of that. A left-wing political comedian has a left-wing political
relish in
audience,
it.
right?
It took me decades to get to a place where I could not have to worry about, oh, he said this word and this subject is not funny. Well, to my audience, it is. The only thing I can think of that would queer my audience away is going sober or becoming born again. Two things that we're talking about right now. So let's get back to you and your book, because we've covered this shit.
Sure.
For your thing, you wrote this book. You did stand up, you said, from 98 to 2006.
Correct, yeah.
And what queered you out of it other than them not showing up?
I lived in Vancouver. It literally was people not showing up because I lived in Vancouver, which is a smaller market. I'm Canadian. At the time, I could not legally perform in New York or Los Angeles. It wasn't an option for me. So if you're in a smaller market in America and you want to take the next step up, you move, And
I am so bum rushing every question I have for you because you only have a limited amount of
that's
time.
all right.
Vancouver, Canada comedy scene is so much more controlled by the powers that be, not networks, but the actual club owners and the courts, where that kid in Vancouver, no one came to his defense because he wasn't funny, but he made a landmark lawsuit where some lesbian couple was heckling him, and he called them dykes, and they sued him for like $25,000, I think. They won.
That was after my time. I wasn't there at the time, but I, of course, heard all about it. But again, we were talking off mic about comedy teachers, and you're like, that's the guy teaching a comedy class? Same with these things, with these court trials in Canada. The comedians who are getting persecuted, if you will, you're like, that guy? He's been doing stand-up for 2 weeks. Of course the audience hates his guts, He's horrible.
The same as comedy teachers. That guy's teaching a comedy class.
So,
he sucks shit.
So apparently that's sort of what happened in Vancouver, and it puts a comedian in a weird position because you want to defend the comedian, yet at the same time it's a guy who's been doing stand-up for 2 weeks who isn't really
I'll bring it local. There was a guy locally that's just a rummy in town where they have haunted Bisbee ghost tours. And it's a scam. Every small town that has nothing else to really...
It's a franchise.
Yeah. Well, we'll just say it's haunted, and that'll bring people.
Right.
Well, this old rummy was tired of it, came out of the Bisbee Grand during a ghost tour and mooned them. Well, there was children in the group, and they were going to charge him as a sexual predator, a sex offender, because they saw his asshole and hopefully part of his turkey neck, the best part of the moon. And no one rushed to his defense in a very liberal town because he's a drunken asshole. Like, you still got to defend your point of view, but still.
Somebody told me, is this true that if the cops bust you for taking a leak, like in a back alley, and they arrest you, that you'll be on a sex offender's list?
That is totally true, because that happened to me. Almost.
Is that your excuse?
The cop let us off. We were peeing. We went up onto this like ridge, like looking for a party in Orange County, and then the cop pulled up, and like 6 of us were all peeing on a fence, and there were girls in cars near us, and he laid it out. He goes, "This, you would be actually charged as a sexual predator. You would have to be registered and it's like, what the fuck?
So insane." And nobody comes to the defense, of course, of a sex predator, but the definition is so broad that...
I have the same thing as a guy fucking a corpse. I don't know. It's fucking weird.
But when you come back to comedy, still so far, no one's been prosecuted for a joke on stage. Unlike Canada, unlike the UK, where we saw people getting arrested for mean tweets.
Well, I have a section in my book from the 1940s and 50s that talks about guys that were arrested for their act prior to Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce was, of course, persecuted mostly because he was talking about religion, and they used language as the auspices to throw him in jail.
Television, too.
Well, TV was so squeaky clean that certain words would have you banned for life. So there was all that censorship, but... In the 40s, there were guys that would use very innocuous material. God forbid they said fuck on stage. Literally, they would be arrested for obscenity was usually the charge and be thrown in jail for up to 6 months. And I have examples in my book about all these comedians who served jail time for the subject matter of their act. There was a guy in Anaheim in like 1959, very obscure, named Hoppy Hopkins. That's how he billed himself. He went on stage, and I don't know what the material was because in the news reports at the time, they didn't quote if a comedian swore on stage. But he did some routine that offended an audience member. An audience member performed a citizen's arrest dragged him off stage. They phoned the police and held him, the comedian, till they showed up. The police showed up, handcuffed him, charged him. He went to court and lost an obscenity case because of this citizen's arrest. The judge said that club owners would be wise to demand a transcript in advance of any comedian's performance. So, and usually the club owner would get charged too for staging an obscene performance. So it doesn't seem to happen now like it does in Canada with those kind of court trials. But once upon a time,
happened again. Was it Matt Ward? I think it was.
Again, like I'm not in Canada anymore, so I just hear about it. But they're guys that I don't know.
I might be saying the wrong name. There was another comedian.
Matt Ward used to be the comedian we worked with out of Tennessee.
All right, I got the name wrong, but there was a comic since then that got busted for and lost a case, a civil case.
The problem is the cases are debated by people, of course, who have no knowledge of comedy, no knowledge of stand-up, just like this judge in the 40s who said, I demand a transcript. So you're already kind of in a losing battle because people just don't understand what the fuck it is you're doing. It's different than if you're on the bus and you're berating a guy, you know, and being just an obnoxious dick. You know, so, but again, it's hard to defend some of these guys because they're guys I've never heard of, to my knowledge, aren't like, in my pompous way, wouldn't call a true stand-up, a guy who's been doing stand-up for a few weeks. So it's like, yes, I am against his persecution, but at the same time, I don't like seeing him on CNN saying, we comedians. I'm like, well, what? This guy's the spokesman for stand-up now?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's difficult, but you do have to err on the side of us.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. I don't watch this whole fucking political shit, but where I see even comedians that are saying, well, he did this. Well, if it was Obama that did that in the first 100 days or whatever, it wouldn't be an issue. You're trying to find a flaw because you hate the guy. And you're right to hate the guy. I did this with George Bush. Well, he got a DUI. Well, if your friend got a DUI, you'd go, well, it doesn't matter. He's still a great dude. So stop pointing out the thing just... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, America is odd that way. I'm sure it's the same in every country. But you choose a side, and no matter what wrong thing your side does, you defend it. And no matter what wrong thing that other side does, you attack it, even if it's the same thing.
Caused by sports.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
It's caused by sports. If the Cowboys are your team, you'll go, he used steroids. Yeah. But you'll ignore your guy that's doing steroids.
Right, exactly.
And it's human nature to be a piece of shit as an animal. And if you rise above that level, then you're alone. So yeah, which way do you want to go? I've been watching sports since before you got here. Can't beat them. All right. I don't know where you are time-wise. Your book is The Comedians by Kliph. That's Kliph with a Kliph. Did Viceland.com or the overlying Vice Corporation, however it works,
demand that?
Make you change your name into a weird spelling of Cliff from Cheers and put on, it's not a fedora, a golfing cap and horn-rimmed glasses?
They did make me put on this cap. No, they didn't make me change my name, but when I was 16, it's not a very good story. When I was 16, I fell in love with this girl, and this artsy girl. And she said, Kliph, you should spell your name Kliph. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was going to lose my virginity if I did that, you know. And
you still think that to this day.
Exactly. You stepped on my punchline, but yes, that's exactly where I was going with it.
Well, I saw it coming. Maybe I could teach you how to
I need a chart
misdirect me.
But that's why, and I just used it as a pen name for a long time. And so
the Vice thing does bother me. I mean, I always loved Vice, and the guy, the cool-looking guy, Sean. He's cool. He's got a beard, but not a hipster beard. The guy that announces the main guy. Steven. No, it's not. Is it Sean what? He should know.
Shane Smith.
Shane, thank you.
Smith,
yeah, that's why the guy from Vice that you're trying to correct. Shane. But everyone else on that show just looks like they're trying to look as sloppy as possible to go, look, we're different. We're 60 Minutes, but we're different. We say fuck here and again. The stories always seem to be the same about some starving kid in fucking Syria trying to jump over a fucking barbed wire fence.
Full disclosure, I've never seen that show. I've never watched Vice News. I've watched Viceland on the airplane 5 times, and it's always a guy smoking weed or eating pizza. Nothing happens in the Viceland shows.
Freelancer is what you're saying.
I guess.
How do you spell freelancer? Is it with a F-R-Y-E?
Hey, by the way, sloppy's our thing. That's our fucking MO. We just don't have video.
I remember James Inman, sorry, I'm way off topic, but in the 90s, bitching about grunge music. No, I'm not grunge. This is just the way I dress. I dress out of a fucking Salvation Army thrift store. Quit calling me grunge. Anyway, let's go back to, is this on audio was my point. Before
Yes,
I fucked with their
this
name.
is now on audiobook on Audible.
Is it on Audible?
Audible.com. Yes,
No.
It's Audible. It's not audible.com.
It's not?
No, there's a branding issue.
God damn it.
But that's all right. I wanted to know because we just got off a month-long road trip trying to find shit that's either rock and roll biographies or comedy biographies that are not about something that...
Yeah, no, it's on audiobook now. I think you'll like it. It's mostly, the crux of the book is primarily about comedians who worked for the mafia in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, because 9 times out of 10, if you played a nightclub in those days, it was run by the mob.
Or a strip club.
Yeah, strip clubs as well, but those were also run by the mob usually.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
Yeah.
So I talked to all the old-timers that were still alive, a lot who have since died now, but guys like Professor Irwin Corey, Jack Carter, Shecky Green, all these guys of that era who...
Tom Konopka will be jumping back in after you're leaving. That's his whole...
Well, I interviewed...
Fascination.
I was fascinated with those guys because they were squeaky clean on stage, wore a tuxedo. They would end their act with a song, I love to entertain, you know, real maudlin. Then you talk to them in real life and you say, Jack Carter, I just saw you do a rerun. I saw a rerun of you on the Carol Burnett show. Vicki Lawrence was a Nazi cunt! Yeah. Just like line after line like that. You were on an episode of Password with Alan Ludden. Alan Ludden was just Bill Cullen without the limp. Yeah, everything was... like he was this great insult comment. Same thing, Shecky Green. Shecky Green, I asked him about Joey Bishop, who was the comedian in the Rat Packs. Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Joey Bishop. I go, did you know Joey Bishop? What was he like? Joey Bishop got so fucking far with no fucking talent. It's unbelievable. He's a fucking politician. But you see his act, it's all squeaky clean. And then he's complaining, these kids today, these comics, they use the F-bombs. It just makes me sick to my fucking stomach. Want to clean up the goddamn language. It's profane. So it was super, super entertaining. But I kind of distilled that. And that's
Hennigan was with me. We did this show in Mill Valley where they bring up a lot of legends. And Mort Saul was in the audience. Wow. And I was headlining. I was pretty hammered. I was giving the guy from Metallica shit for ruining Napster and whatever. I was being me otherwise with all the colorful language. No. And he left during my headlining set, and his carrier, literally, that was taking him to the car, whoever booked the show was next to them. No, it was the venue guy, was overheard Mort Saul telling his handler, I know they have the right to, but, and that was it. I know they have the right to, like, talk like I do, but, and then they get in the car. I didn't hear the end of it.
Oh, man.
But Mort Saul, who's always compared to, if Mort Saul had lived, died and Lenny Bruce had lived, Mort Saul would have been the famous one, and he was bitching about my
I tried to interview Mort Saul for this book. It never quite happened. I phoned him. And he answered on his cell phone, and he was like in a restaurant or at a bagel shop ordering. And he said, oh, yeah, could talk to so-and-so. I'll be happy to help you out. But then he went to hang up his cell phone, but because he's very elderly, he didn't hang it up. I
got dumped like this once.
Yeah, and so I didn't hang up either. I was like, I can listen to Mort Saul's day. So it was like, I'll have a poppy seed, please. You see that Neil Patrick Harris on the Tonys last night? Boy, he's sure something, isn't he? For like 20 minutes, I got to listen to elderly Mort Saul's day. I don't know if that's ethical, but
no, it's not at all. But
it's legal. It's legal.
It's ethical, but it's legal. I wouldn't be charged with a sex offense.
Unless you were masturbating to it.
Yeah.
Or peeing.
Or peeing in public.
Good Lord.
Near a lady.
I guess I have nothing more to add. Go to Audible to get The Comedians by Kliph, Kliph, Gets Him Laid, Nesteroff. And listen to that.
Cool, guys. Thanks for
Or
having
read
me.
it. It's pretty fucking thick.
It's a dense book.
Yeah.
It's dense.
Did you do the read on it for Audible?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations.
I did do it. And
Do you do voices like that?
Well, I asked the engineer, I was like, how do people do an audiobook? Do they do voices? Because that's going to grow like tired real soon. But then how do you differentiate person to person? He goes, usually people just go a little bit higher in the pitch when they quote somebody. And then as soon as it got to Jack Carter, I was like, fuck Jackie Mason. He was a piece of shit. I couldn't help it. So that one voice is in parts of the book, but mostly it's just
Bravo. Good for you.
I think I always just do the Joe Rogan female voice when it's a female voice on my audiobook. They all sound stupid.
All right.
All right. Hey, listen, we're going to just
keep.
keep this podcast going. Don't worry about sound breaking down. We don't have that kind of podcast where Chaille's trying to tell me to take a break.
Yeah, we're going to.
All right, fuck it. We'll take a break.
We're going to
All
take
right.
some drinks. But you guys do what you want to do, and this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you guys very much. We'll take a break, and we'll be back after a read I have to do. Fucking fantastic. Thank you very much, sir. TheShadyDell.com. That is where you stay. If you come to Bisbee and you're staying at the Shady Dell and I'm in town, I will have a beer with you. I won't hang out that long. We're not going to be good friends. I don't want you to fucking tell me you're going to kill yourself. But if you're staying at theshadydell.com, vintage trailer park with all 50s, 60s trailers that we live a mile away from, and we look for reasons to go stay there. Come to theshadydell.com. Sponsored by. I might even come in and clean your toilet. I don't know. All right, we going?
I don't remember what you had.
I'm rolling.
All right, you're rolling. All right,
Jameson.
That was a break, but the Kliph is still here, and we talked before the show about your newfound sobriety, which when Hennigan told me, by the way, he's newly sober, so you won't be drinking together. And I go, I don't care, as long as he doesn't care that I'll be drinking and
Drinking
smoking
water. We're drinking together.
But no, he told me that 10 months ago.
Yeah, well, like I was trying to quit drinking because I'd been banned from most of my favorite drinking places in Hollywood. And initially I didn't take that as any kind of sign.
Hang on, let's start there. Give me your top three.
Musso and Frank's, Bordner's.
It's gorgeous.
And, the
Bordner's, that's not the bookstore. That's
No, it's like down the street from Musso and Frank's. When I got kicked out of Musso and Frank's, I had to find a place that was...
Musso and Frank's is. Do you know? Konopka knows Musso and Frank's is the the maroon leather half circle. It's 1940 straight
very old
up.
school, but it's also got like literary history. So like famous literary drunks drank there, like F. Scott Fitzgerald, William Faulkner. And then the 80s when Bukowski started making money, he would drink there, pass out in the booth, and they would drag him to their car, the waiter, and drive him home and push him onto his lawn and say,
Until
"See you
United Airlines made it unpopular.
tomorrow." So I was banned from that place, which I was like,
That stuff.
yeah. But I thought it was their fault. I was like, how dare you? How dare you?
don't even read good literature.
But eventually I took it as a bit of a sign, and I tried to like taper my drinking because I was craving it like crazy. I would wake up in the morning and had to drink.
How old are you?
I'm
My
30
listeners are all alcoholics,
Yeah.
so a lot of them want to know, hey, at what point does it go so bad? How old?
I'm 37, and I was 36 when I got off it. But I tried to quit on my own, and I couldn't like for more than 24 hours. I'd go 24 hours without drinking and think I was doing great. But man, it's just anything to justify. I go, well, it's raining. I probably should drink.
Wind?
Yeah,
here?
it's windy. I should probably drink. It's sunny.
Daylight.
I love day drinking much more than night drinking. It just makes life more entertaining visually. But eventually, in my book, there's stuff about George Carlin and LSD and certain comedians in LSD talking about what it did for them that was positive and helpful in their lives. In the 1950s...
I'm going to back you up a bit because
Yeah.
it's going to take them a minute to break down.
Yeah.
Roughly how much were you drinking in a day where you had to drink in the morning? Like, roughly,
I don't
how
know.
many drinks?
I guess it's different for every person.
It is. That's
But
why my listeners,
I would drink
go,
a bottle-
well, I drink less than that, so I'm good, or I drink more than that, so I'm going to die.
I would drink a bottle of scotch, before 5 o'clock. A whole
A
bottle.
fifth.
Yeah.
Like the kind.
And then I would go somewhere. Like if I either had to go to sleep or just keep drinking, right? Once anything wore off, then obviously I kept drinking.
A fifth is quite a bit.
Yeah.
A fifth, and I've just recently.
He's talking about a 750 mil, right? You're talking about a bottle.
I don't know the metric system.
A bottle, a full bottle.
Yeah.
This is
That's
what
a bottle.
I've been drinking my entire life.
Well,
I still don't know what size is the bottle that
I
is
don't know
behind the
measurements. I
bar.
just know the bottle.
750.
Tracy.
Tracy, what size is that? Is that
Tracy,
750 mil?
That's
Yes.
Oh, that's not a fifth.
So a fifth
All right.
is much less than
Oh,
that.
no, I would drink a thing
Don't
like
be
that.
a pussy on this fucking
Hang
podcast.
on. She said it's the same as the fifth is the
fifth
same.
is not the same as that. A fifth is the pint, right?
No, pint. That's more than a pint.
Oh, really?
Well, the guy who's saying how much he drank is saying the size of the bottle that's behind any bar.
I didn't see him say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
That's
size,
it?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you were drunk. So
would
But I'm
drink
also
that.
like a small guy. I'm not like built like a drinker. So it was a lot
You're
for
like
me.
Pete Dominic, size and look.
Yes. Yeah.
And Whiskey Man, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Whiskey Man? Inside
Yeah, oh, yeah,
reference. You look so much
Oh,
like
really?
Who's Dead, but that was a bullet through the brain. Anyway, at your age,
Yeah. So, anyways, I was drinking that amount, and for this book I had studied LSD, its effects on people like George Carlin, Richard Pryor, who all had positive things to say about it, and also when I was a teenager, 16, 17, 18, mushrooms, LSD, I always had great experiences, and all through my life, even though I didn't continue to do them, was always like, yeah, they were so important, In the 50s, when LSD was legal, its primary use in psychiatry was to prescribe it to hardened alcoholics who had tried everything to get sober and nothing else worked. When they did these clinical experiments, it had a 50% and higher success rate. Guys who never could go a day without drinking stopped drinking forever. Those that didn't stop drinking forever stopped for a year or 6 months. Those that continued drinking drank less. And they credited it with making them happier, with making their lives more manageable. It also offset a lot of the trauma that maybe they were masking by drinking so much. And then, of course, it was made illegal in the late 60s, and all that research was basically not discredited, but they tried to discredit it.
all right, I got to write that down. Sorry,
Hold on. I do want to ask you, were these microdoses?
Just
or were
write
these,
down LSD research versus Nazis.
But were these microdoses
important.
or were these like
No.
what? Because, I mean, there's no dose.
The main dosage, it's fascinating reading the doctor's notes. Like, I ordered all these medical textbooks from the 50s. I'm fascinated by it now. And the basic dosage was 350 micrograms, which is your typical dose for an intense 12-hour trip. That is an intense trip, but it's not too much acid, and it's definitely not a microdose. So that was the primary dosage that they were doling out in the 50s in these clinics. There was a clinic in Saskatchewan, a guy named Dr. Humphrey Osmond, who coined the phrase psychedelic. That's his word. He was an LSD doctor who treated alcoholism. And then they would do these follow-up studies 2-3 years later and talk to the people, and many of them were still
In
sober.
Saskatchewan, you can find them, unlike AA, where they're anonymous and there's a billion of them. I'm
Here's
serious.
an interesting thing. Bill Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, heard about this.
We call him Bill W. for anonymity reasons.
Right.
He was friend of Bill.
You can look this up. I'm writing about this for my next book, but you can look this up. He was so impressed by the potential of LSD that before he left AA, he had a falling out with his co-founder in like 1962. He was going to turn the 12-step program into a 13-step program. The 13th step was an LSD dose.
And a lot of my listeners, before you send the easy tweet, now the 13th step means fucking a newcomer. But
So anyways, equipped with all that knowledge, that's what I did. I administered myself by myself, not without a doctor. There is no LSD doctor. A 350 microgram dose to see if I could use it. I didn't even really know how that works, but to quit drinking. So
But
it
you
was
had done LSD before this, recreationally?
about 20 years earlier.
Okay.
But I had not in 20 years.
Oh, interesting.
And I did it, and it was intense, and a lot of other shit came up that was not related to alcoholism.
hang on, where are you? Give
I
me
was
your
at home.
setting.
My setting was at home in my house
Alone?
in Hollywood
At 36?
by myself. Yeah.
By yourself?
Yeah.
You cleaned the house.
Yes. It was a nice.
Key to the young listeners, tidy up a lot.
Did you build any chicken coops?
Sorry, what house? What's the address? I'm serious.
Ask out off the air.
I'm curious. Where were you living at the time?
Near the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Franklin.
So, over the course of the trip, something that I could not have predicted happened, which was not what you want to happen when you're on LSD. There was a huge flood in my house. A sink started overflowing, and immediately that's a bad trip. And also, not sure if it's actually happening or not. So that
And you've
was
got to deal with other people if it is.
Yeah, it was almost like the cliche, are the walls
or
melting?
drown.
There's water everywhere. So I texted a friend who would be sympathetic to my situation, a girl who does psychedelics, and I said, listen, this is what's going on. I need to phone a plumber. I can't operate my phone. Can't find a number. I tried to type an email. I'm not sure what happened to it. And she said, Kliph, it would be nice if we got a text from you once in a while when you didn't need something from us. And that hit.
Fuck, you had an intervention while you were on LSD?
Sounds like Mishka Shabali. Uh-oh. I was just trying to patch things up with
So
him.
LSD and psychedelics heighten your emotion. So that cut like a knife. It hurt so bad that I was like, okay, I'll text you on Monday. I'm going through my phone. I need somebody to help. I texted somebody else. They said the same thing. Completely different person. I suddenly had this epiphany about my own narcissism, my own self-centered ego. And psychedelics do that. They kind of attack the ego and take you out of it. So I was able to step out of it and go, I've been like using people for my own needs and methods. So that part of the trip, suddenly everything became very...
Made you think, oh, I'm thinking about myself again and what a narcissist I am. I should think more about myself.
Anyways, I finally did find a friend who came over and helped with the plumbing. Then a plumber came over at 3 a.m. with tools. I'm high on acid in my home. And this guy, this disheveled, smelly plumber, it was bad news. But often in the psychedelic experience...
For a second, I always said that about L.A. after I moved here is in L.A. I didn't know anyone who could do a thing like plumbing, where in the rest of the world, like here, everyone... But in L.A., if you asked me if I could find a violinist that could yodel, I know 3. But if I'm tripping and my plumbing goes out, I'm fucked. Unless I like yodeling violinists.
Anyways.
So you go through this.
Went through that, came out of it as the sun was going up. That's the period of reflection. And your typical LSD trip, if it's 12 hours, 350 micrograms, around hour 8, the most intense part is past, and you're starting to have self-reflection and a spiritual whatever. And so that's when I started considering all these things people had said to me, and alcoholism. And I go, well, maybe they're all tied together to the ego, when I drink, I'm like obnoxious, and that's sort of a selfish thing, And so anyways, I came out of it feeling great the next day. I went to bed at noon and slept for about 5 hours. And then I woke up, and I went to the liquor store, and I felt a craving for booze, and I bought a 6-pack of beer, and I was like, shit, it didn't work. So I went home, I had my first beer, it was very enjoyable. I had my second beer, it wasn't enjoyable. Like I could drink it, but for whatever reason.
We did the top 3 bars. What was your beer? We have to always be branding.
It was Corona. It was a Corona, yeah.
Solid choice, by the way. Solid choice.
No, and it was not.
You didn't go light.
Go ahead.
No, I go light beer.
That was that.
Third bar, by the way.
I know it didn't. I know.
It was the local convenience store choice. Like, no, okay, I'll take that kind of thing. It was not a liquor store or beer store that I could choose.
I'm a Miller Lite guy. I was hoping you're going to go with an IPA I could shit on, but go ahead.
No,
I'm
it was
interrupting
Corona.
over and over.
But so I had that second beer. I didn't enjoy it, and then the third beer I opened and I didn't drink, and it stayed open on my counter until I dumped it like a week later. I never had another drink after that. And mostly it was not like my decision, but I had never had another craving. So LSD, the way it works, to the best of people's knowledge, those who study
your own individual knowledge.
Well,
goes
no,
back
from
to
all these
comedy classes.
No. If you read the papers that these doctors and therapists came out with in the 50s, they kind of call it the reset button. So it resets your patterns, your habits to 0. So I had a pattern, a habit, a craving. It's like addiction. And it reset it. And so I didn't have the cravings anymore. And so I haven't had a drink.
So you're talking about one acid trip.
Heavy dose.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm going somewhere with this because
Go ahead.
When he told me about that before we started shooting, I thought when I had that debilitating DMT trip with Rogan, I said, well, what about DMT? And I thought the only reason I would ever do this again is if I wanted what I'll now call a reset button, where it was so far beyond an acid trip where full knowledge of life. The only reason I'd do it again is if I wanted to quit something, if I had liver cancer and I'm going to just drink myself to death, but what about bingo? Maybe I'll do DMT to try to make myself a better person, but not for fun. Not doing DMT for fun. But he went ahead and did DMT.
I did DMT because
afterwards.
Well, I'd been reading so much about psychedelics. I was just interested in all of them. And when I was a teenager, I had never heard of DMT. When I was in high school, when I was doing mushrooms or LSD, I never heard of DMT. I guess it was around, but...
And you never had to prove you were cool to Joe Rogan.
But in Hollywood, there's lots of hippy-dippy charlatans around who
they
do all kinds
like
of new agey stuff. And there was this guy that was suggested to me who did DMT trips because I was so curious about them. But he said he was a kind of a flaky guy, and he goes, so you're going to smoke the DMT, and then all the trauma, all the stuff that you have bottled up, it's going to come out, and it might be a little bit scary, but you're going to be a new man after the 15 minutes or whatever. So
just to keep it current, was he the same guy that plays the Rick Shapiro character on Crashing on HBO?
Is that what he sounds like?
That's just for the people who get that joke. Go ahead, sorry. So you get the shaman.
Yeah, so I get the shaman, I take the hit of the DMT, and I'm anticipating demons and shadow people and horrifying things and Mandelas. And I smoked it, and I just saw white, nothing but white. And then after about a minute, it felt very peaceful. I came out of it, and my eyes were open, and I could see the room that I was in, like I wasn't hallucinating. And the hippie's standing there, like holding the pipe, like staring at me. And I go, I think it's over. He goes, no, man, you're in both worlds now. I go, no, I think it's done. Like, I can see you when we're talking. There's no demons or shadow people.
You got bunk DMT?
Bunk. And the guys are convincing him it's real.
So he goes, I'll just leave you. Just sit with it for the next 10 minutes and I'll... But then I brought a friend as well, and she did a hit of DMT, and she had those classically horrifying, intense DMT experiences. She's somebody who had never done any psychedelic or any LSD. So my belief is that I had sort of an exorcism from the LSD trip where all this sort of baggage did come up and come out like an exorcism. So I was kind of like, I think it was
That's
addressed.
what I said to Kliph when he told me this earlier. I said, it's like getting a colonic shortly after you get a colonic. Oh, no, a lot of stuff's going to pass out of you. No, it already did. With the LSD, you're shitting. No, you'll be shitting something soon. Just stay on the bowl. No, there's nothing coming out of me that's new.
But anyways, that was my experience with the LSD.
And 10 months.
I've been sober for 10 months. Haven't had a craving for a drink.
Really, even after tonight? It wasn't a little bit.
I won't lie. I didn't have a craving, but I was like, oh, it's such a shame that we're meeting today instead of 11 months ago.
Where you would have turned into a dildo, left your crew hanging in the street going, fuck Nashville and Christian comedy. I got a better idea.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have been the new club.
No, you're cutting that. You're cutting that. He's sensitive. He's very sensitive, and we do. We take. He's still very sensitive.
I don't mind, even for the people in the room as well.
Yeah, it is. Well, they have no idea.
I'm not cutting their laughter.
They're laughing at your enthusiasm. They don't know.
I know.
That was good.
How do you know my ex-wife?
Whoa. Say it on mic. Say it on mic.
gave me-
Hang on.
How
hold on,
do you
hold on.
know my
There
ex-wife,
you
the
go.
delightful Julie Seabolt?
Well, I did not know that she was even your ex-wife till you said it today. We were standing in Lowell on the street in front of some rusty old car, and you said
Localist of
to me,
references.
I used to be married to Julie, and I nodded like I knew who you were talking about. And I was going, Julie, in my head. But then I figured it out when we kept talking. But Julie Seabow gave me like a beautiful write-up in the LA Weekly a couple of years ago that was very good for press. And then lobbied to get me on like a best of LA Weekly thing, you know. So that's how I know her, is just through her generous press. Yeah. But I didn't know you guys had been married at all.
Wait, for doing DMT?
I'm queering off
surprisingly,
the Pete
she
Dominic,
keeps it secret.
and I'm queering off the Pete Dominic, and I'm going a whiskey man for sure. But there's a little bit of less aggressive Ggreg Fitzsimmons there.
I think it's the hat.
It is the hat. Yeah.
No, it's when you take off the hat.
And for a helpful hint, Ggreg Fitzsimmons really came into his own when he got more violent. So,
he's always been violent.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you just wouldn't see it in him. He doesn't look violent. And there's a bit of fuck. I just had it. Go ahead. You keep talking.
Not really.
We're trying to make sure people know what Kliph looks like whenever I had to
Goosekirk. Boom. Goosekirk.
I don't know this.
Our second podcast, a friend of ours that just took a chance to give up on life and move down to South America, and next thing we know, he's in a Brazilian prison. You look like a lot of folks. I guess that looks like a lot of folks.
Same interviewing style.
All right, we gotta wrap up. We gotta get you out of here. I don't know.
I guess.
Chaille's giving me the wrap-up signal like you're not welcome. Like Chaille has more to say to help this podcast. All right, we'll be back after this with either Kliph telling you to go fuck yourself. He has more stories.
All right, gentlemen.
Viceland.com. The Comedians by Kliph Nesteroff. Also available on audio if you're doing a month-long road tour and Duff McKagan ran out too soon. You want to hear some more dark shit about the entertainment industry, like ours.
Vicki Lawrence was a Nazi cunt.
That's your out. Thank you guys for hanging an extra. Thank you guys. I remember nobody's name, Nesteroff.
Right
And that's the only one we're plugging anyway.
And there it is.
Oh, Rachel. You said Rachel. And I thought of it when you said, oh, Rachel should, and I go, fuck, not her. And I go, oh, well, no, there's another Rachel in my head. And I'm like, oh, wait, you. Fine, you're fine. And the crew, I don't remember your names.
Can you just bring us into this?
I am. I'm slowly bringing you into this. And they can cut it out however they want. For the listening audience, yeah, the crew is leaving. They're going to get 3 minutes of us doing the podcast without Kliph Nesteroff. And then we're going to now cut to Tom talking. Tom Konopka. See, now your laughs are
There's a
fucking up the
segue.
segue.
Sorry.
Tom Konopka.
Contain yourself.
As Kliph Nesteroff leaves behind the book that's why I asked him, is that on Audible? Because we have another road trip coming up. I'm saving it for Audible. But Tom Konopka is here, and he's going to read it with his one good eye. Oh, speaking of one good eye.
Where are you?
There's
There you are, Doc.
3 of us on the upcoming podcast, Tom Konopka, Brian Hennigan, and myself, that all have one bad right eye now. That we all are at men of a certain age that have one fucked up eye, evidently. Anyway.
But everything else is working good.
The comedians. You
Thank you,
started,
Chad.
Konopka starts looking through the book and looking through the pictures, and you were a dealer in the 70s and 80s in both Atlantic City and
He worked at the
Vegas.
casinos, is what you mean.
So he would see
Yeah.
all of these old school comics that Kliph wrote about.
Yeah. I mean, he's talking about, first of all, the book, The Comedians, Kliph Nesteroff. The very top on the back, the praise is Mel Brooks right out of it. Kliph Nesteroff and this book are devoted to what I truly love, the art of comedy. We were just talking about some of these old school comics. In Atlantic City, I spoke about it on one of Doug's podcasts. Walking up to a table, a dead table, was fucking Maury Amsterdam, Henny Youngman, and Rodney fucking Dangerfield.
All saying, I thought of it first.
Exactly. You stole my joke. No, it was a dead game. And Maury and fucking Henny Youngman just walked up and they bought in for, I don't know, $1,000 apiece, and they were losing their ass. And Rodney walked up, and suddenly it was a dead game. He said, "Hey, how you guys doing?" They were friends. They were appearing at Harrah's. This was like 1980. And they said, "We're losing our ass." And Rodney said, "I'll change that." And there was a pit boss from Vegas at Harrah's. And Rodney just looked at him. He says, "Can I do this?" And he said, "Yeah." And I'm calling the game. I'm a dice dealer. He said, "Give me the stick." And Rodney got on the stick. And suddenly, whatever was being rolled, he was calling winner 5, winner 6, winner 7. There was nobody else on the table. Suddenly, they went from losing $2,000, $1,000, and $1,000. They were up about $4,000 within about 15 minutes. And, this is not allowed. But in those days, these old timers, it's a mobster in Vegas.
And that's addressed in the book.
Yeah, you're allowed to do these things.
Wait, no matter what they rolled, Rodney, who had the stick, said winner 5.
Yeah.
Winner 6.
Yeah. And I'm just backed up, and I'm watching this, and I'm watching fucking Maury Amsterdam, which was before my time, but I saw him from the early days of comedy. These are all legends. And boom, winner 6, winner 5, and we're just like, is this fucking legal? And as they were ready to leave with all these chips, they were ready to split, they pushed it all and said, "This is for the dealers, keep it." What a fucking class move that was.
Nice.
That is some shit. You'll never see that anywhere.
You were pointing out pictures of the old El Rancho in the middle of the book.
Yeah, well,
The Comedians by Kliph Nesteroff.
Yeah, I mean, this is the shit. Look at the cover of this.
Kliph.
Yeah, Kliph.
Kliph.
Exactly. I mean, but it's just, look at it. It's like Sgt. Pepper's. It's a nice homage.
Prince of comedy, right?
There you go. Absolutely. I saw Freddie Prinze himself. In around 1970, I don't know, early 70s, there was a club in Manhattan called Ye Old Triple N.
Cheer up for him.
And Freddie Prinze, about a year before he was on Chico and the Man.
Because he was stand-up. He did
stand-up,
yeah.
and he was a fucking killer stand-up. He was at a place, it was called Ye Old Triple N, and it was 3 comics. I just remember I was just hanging out in Manhattan, and I said, "Who's this guy?" I went, and he did the thing, whatever it was, his mother or father. My mother's Puerto Rican, my father's Hungarian, I'm a Hungarian. It was all of his bits. It all came out.
Kind of cuts back to what we were talking about earlier when you weren't even in
Learned
the
it in the class.
But I guess that would be the same rules apply where they say if Mort Saul had died and Lenny Bruce had lived, Mort would be the famous one. Well, if Jimmy Walker had died,
dynamite,
and Freddie Prinze had lived, still no one would know either one.
No, exactly.
But Freddie Prinze Jr. would still be an annoyance. Didn't he do something?
It was a
Freddie
heartthrob.
Prinze Jr. Like
do you have a catchphrase or something? I remember Chico and the Man, but I don't remember any.
Freddie Prinze, yeah, hoist it. That was it. Nothing else.
I'm not a historian of comedy. I mean, I remember the people I listened to. I remember my mom and
Bonnie.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Hi, Mom. Remember, her name was Bonnie.
Right there.
You got it, Bonnie. There it is. You never know. He's been on the road for a long time.
Holy fuck, that was the greatest chime in the world. Remember your mom's name?
Yeah, Bonnie.
My dad didn't. My dad listened to the albums because my mom played them. But Bob Newhart and Bill Cosby.
Those were that and Andy Griffith were the 3 that my dad turned me on to.
All right,
Andy Griffith, wow.
Yeah.
Well, your parents are older.
We don't even know what your dad's name is, Chaille.
Konopka hasn't told me yet.
Hey, ho, hey.
But I'm not a historian.
Mr. Chaille!
Like Jim Norton, guys like that know every word of Richard Pryor, and I'm not that guy.
No.
I know the guys that I started with. I remember Dice Clay and a bit of Kinnison that inspired me to actually start, but those memories.
When you thought about doing comedy, not when you were growing up.
But I'm not a guy that ever goes back to listen to those guys. No. But it's fun to read about them.
Yes.
Their lives. I don't want to hear about their fucking jokes because comedy has a... As I've said probably a million times, comedy has the shelf life of mayonnaise in Arizona's sun. It's not funny after a while.
Yeah.
Once you heard Hedberg, you don't go back to Stephen Wright. You do a little. Not that it's not funny, but comedy builds upon itself for the most part. there's exemptions to the rule. Woody Allen's first album with the fucking moose and the vodka and all that holds up somehow.
Yeah.
But people, Richard Pryor, you listen to it now and you go, so many people have stolen from him. I don't. Who's the new guy? I want to hear the new shit.
Yeah.
I'll still mostly shit on it because most of comedy stinks.
Wouldn't it be that what you're saying is like comedy is born from experience and not from just listening to someone?
No, that's
tell
not
jokes?
what I'm saying whatsoever, and you're drunk. I'm saying
Drunk and Adderall. So
comedy is like science in that what they used to try to cure polio with before they found the cure for polio is really not as exciting to a scientist. They finally nailed it, and then you go, all right, he did it better than I can do it, and I'm almost dead, so I'll quit.
Yeah.
Does that make some
I love
better
that.
sense?
No, that's the point.
The fact that everyone stared blankly at me except for Chaille as though he gets it means I got it wrong.
But you did it so
fucking nailed
well.
it.
I got misdirected on Drunkerall at one point. That's
Yeah, at the mix.
halfway between drunk and Adderall,
Yeah,
and then I
Drunkerall.
lost track
Someone
of the
didn't
story.
give. That was our catchphrase on the last tour. We go, listen, you know where Larry the Cable Guy has get her done? Our catchphrase for this tour is Adder all.
Trust me, I tried to listen to a podcast. Erickson is my fucking favorite person to be on a podcast with, and I listened to him tell the same story 3 times, and it made me wish I had Adderall.
All right, well, we're going to make you tell your story tonight once. I'm going to have to bid adieu to... Well, no, you guys can keep filming. But we're going to get... we have 3... Shit, I'm going to have to...
You gotta do the
Bingo's
reads.
sleeping on the floor in there. I have my list of thank yous. All right. Chaille,
Yeah, go ahead. You're on.
are we on? Because I want to tease... The same way we heard on the Bert Kreischer podcast where he teases something. I'm just going to tease this break with what...
He teases it at the front, though.
I know, but we're going to...
All right.
Listen, this
I already know what you're gonna
podcast is
do.
already all fucked up.
to Blue Apron yet?
See?
Hang
You
on.
were saying.
It's coming. Oh,
Just so the crew that's leaving now will listen to the rest of what they left. If you don't know Chad Shank, he has, as the movie is titled, A History of Violence.
that's good.
So, as we're about to fly back from this tour, we're in a Delta Sky Club. I get this text message. It says, actually, I'll let
Go
you.
ahead.
No, you got to read it because it's your voice.
My neighbor's dog killed my son's little dog today, so I have a story when I see you again. It involves a gun and diplomacy. I'm tequila drunk and I miss you guys. The fact that I miss these guys is probably the most telling part of that text message.
Or the tequila. Maybe we'll break and plug
Number one.
number one, Ron White's tequila. We'll be back after this message. Sponsor number one, do a commercial. What does that mean?
Let me take this one, Doug.
There you go.
Wrote it in English.
Number one. No, that's right. Exactly. We are.
It's your tequila because it is actually sippable, which is unknown in tequila.
Yeah.
I fucking hate tequila.
Okay, well, let me
And
do the lead
I
in there.
drank yours.
If you hate it,
I
let me.
sipped yours.
Take it.
and it was-
Let's get a little.
Fuck that fucking tequila, baby.
Bird Cloud's endorsement right there. I don't need your endorsement, you vodka, no taste drinking, whatever. But it is. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to plug my tequila. It says number one tequila. You can go to taterstequila.com. We'll send it to your house. You have to give us money, and then it'll prove to be the best drink of liquor you've ever had in your life of any kind. And I've never lied to you ever.
Ron Tater Salad White let me try to enunciate what you just said. Go to what? .com?
TatersTequila.com.
Taters Tequila, like potatoes, but in a redneck. TatersTequila.com.
Fuck you, it.
And if you Google that and you misspell it, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, or
We'll
you
do
can
it
just
for
go
you.
back and ask Professor Stanhope. And
TatersTequila.com. This tequila, if I'm not wrong, I will tell you, this tequila has never lost a competition for a tequila that cost under $300, and it's only $79. Am I right?
pretty fucking close right there, buddy. Yeah.
Well, that's the way it was 8 months ago when I listened to the podcast you did today. That's a fucking tasty tequila.
Yeah, you'll love it if you
What
give it a
else
try.
do you remember?
I don't.
No, you just said that a little bit backwards. The podcast was 8 months ago. We listened to it today. The
It
tequila's
doesn't
never
matter.
been in a
I gotta go
contest.
pee.
The tequila's never been in a contest
That it didn't get first
didn't
place.
win, and it also won. It also got into the top 5 of all tequilas. Is that right? So was it top
Yeah, it was
5?
voted one of the top 5
And it was the
tequilas in
only
the world,
one-
and it was the only one under $300.
Under $300.
But you're right; it's about $80 for that's the extra añejo, and the other two are also
Well,
outstanding.
The
the
two
blo-
are shitty.
The Blanco, which is delicious, is $39.99, and the Reposado is $49.95.
and they
and
both won
that's
multiple
off-
gold winners.
And
they're delicious.
It's the shitty ones he's pouring into Bird Cloud's head. Just saying.
You can also go to oldtowntequila.com. That's where
That's where they
redirects to.
sell it
Yes,
on the
exactly.
online.
And that's the way to go. And we're gonna get a bunch of it sent out to the FunHouse.
And by
because
the
that's
way,
gonna be our
Bird
tequila.
Cloud is begging for this tequila. I'm not pouring it down their throat. They are saying, "How about some more of that goddamn?" Look at them right there.
100%. Did backflips in your house with it.
Dead friends and family. Funny.
Jobi is definitely the one I invited over to help me with my morose fucking comic relief, even though we couldn't make any horrible jokes.
I think we're going, so I think this story's already started. So
I couldn't make any horrible jokes because my son is as sensitive as my wife.
Oh, yeah?
listen,
Kenny-
dead dogs are fucked up.
Listen, yeah,
Dead cats for me.
That makes sense. Kenny seems like a very sensitive.
Kenny's a sweetheart. He's
Get on mic. There's mics available.
Jobi needs to get on mic for this
Yeah.
because there's a fucking part of the story he's involved in.
Does it involve scones?
I don't even know what you just said.
Neither does the audience.
It involves a frozen dog. That's what it involves.
Joey, do you have all your bread baked?
Yes, I do. I'm
Tracy's
you had
live.
Tracy. You had the option of being mic'd, and you declined. So you shush.
No, she's
I
on.
am mic'd.
She's mic'd.
Oh,
Don't yell at me like that.
holy
Oh,
cow.
no.
Hey, don't yell at Tracy like that.
I heard earlier when she declined to be mic'd. So
I did, but he
You're good.
mic'd me.
You're good.
nonetheless.
ruined the
I-
mic.
Go on with your show.
I had I had to go over earlier for you guys for your Vice thing and let that guy in the gate, and I fucking blew it 100% because I went over there and just opened the gate straight. When what I should have done was told him that we don't allow hipsters in the compound.
there's a couple that weren't hipsters that I go, are you really Vice? Because you're wearing a button-down shirt that seems proper for the news.
I didn't know which vehicle to picture because I'm not all that up to date on hipsters, but I just kept picturing hipsters popping out of a car like a clown car, like just like more and more. Like one just showed up carrying Red Bull and granola bars at one point. We're like, whoa, you weren't even here earlier.
A record player.
Record player.
They are Canadian hipsters.
Yeah.
Two out of there was 5. 3 were local Tucson crew, which anytime Tucson. Wait, we have a project? We thought we put our names on LinkedIn as film crew. We didn't think this would ever manipulate or manifest.
The per diem to Bisbee covers More than our fucking fee.
Our rent? It covers our rent. We all live in the same shoe.
Actually, they put in Phoenix, and they still got it for Tucson. There's no one.
All right, so let's get back to where we left you on the cliffhanger. While we are fucked out of our mind, shit, do we start with that? Because
What?
we left people last with some. When I say unmemorable, I mean to us. We did a podcast at Ron White's house. That turned into this.
Yeah. Hey, wait, hold on. Hennigan is questioning my purse.
That is Chad's purse.
We have to
Here's what I have for people who question my purse.
We call it a churse.
We have.
Oh my God!
You're questioning the masculinity of my purse. I have brass
Those
knuckles.
brass knuckles.
I am
are
gonna.
amazing.
I'm gonna steal this bit because if Chris Fairbanks, listen to me, Chad.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm so
Chad just
Brian.
pulled out brass knuckles from his man purse and threatened.
It's not even a
Hennigan.
man purse.
But
It's a woman purse.
Listen.
Let's be honest.
I can consciously not steal the bit, but repeat it because if it's not in Chris Fairbanks' act, we were listening to Kreischer's podcast for the last couple days.
The Bertcast.
The Bertcast. Because I haven't been caught up, and we're doing this communal swap cast on May 20th. Maybe that's
the car was that
maybe
close.
that's God telling me don't say this.
I thought Ichabod was in the front seat.
Hey, there's a card in your yard.
Chad, listen. Chris Fairbanks, who's a diminutive man.
Stature.
He said something about mace, and then he goes, well, I have brass knuckles in case, and if you know Chris Fairbanks, you can't imagine him even, he's like a younger version of me, where you can
Brass
see him
knuckles wouldn't
beating
help.
me, but no one else. But then he said
gun, it
something
wouldn't help.
about Bert's busting his balls, and he says, yeah, all of my weapons are things that are silhouetted on the TSA sign, like I have a round bomb with a wick, all the things you can't bring on an airline. So when you just pulled out the fucking brass knuckles that started that, back to you. See how I paused in case we want to cut that out and
Yeah.
go, hey,
Thanks.
Fairbanks, is that in your act? Because we don't want to keep repeating your act on podcasts.
Well, he repeated his act on a podcast, so it's
what
fair
I'm saying.
game.
Yeah, it's fair game. Fuck it. He's funny.
We're doing it live! Sorry. Are we done with that?
We're fucked. We have done the 2 days of Atlanta. We get on the plane finally. Right before we get on the plane, we get the text that we just teased. Hey, next time I see you, my neighbor's dog killed my son's little dog, and I had to handle it with a gun and diplomacy. And then I did respond going, oh, stand down. We'll be home soon. And you go, oh, for the record, I was only going to kill his dog. But Jobi's on his way over, and I'm tequila drunk.
Yeah, I got tequila drunk before Jobi even headed over, but Jobi came over and helped the situation immensely.
With a lot of tequila.
Yeah,
Jobi is the perfect person to talk you down.
Well, and then the fucked up thing was, it was, well, I guess I should tell the story before
You need to
I tell
tell
you
the story.
fucked up
The
thing
whole
was.
thing, yeah.
My son is, he's 25 years old. But he's sensitive like Jenny. You guys know Jenny. So
Both
the
your
podcast
sons
listeners,
and your
the
wife.
podcast listeners don't, but you guys know, will understand. He's a male equivalent of Jenny. He's very sensitive about things, and this was his fucking dog. Well, a few months ago, he had to put his other dog down. So the only reason why this little dog, she was a 6-pound Maltese poodle. her name was
No, say malty poo again.
Malty Poo. You want me to say it sexier?
I want for the homoerotic crowd that you're going to do audiobooks for.
Malty Poo.
And then I pulled out of him, and he left a multi poo on my bed.
You ever seen a tribble like Star Trek? That's what it looks like.
Her name was Puff Puff,
right.
which seems kind of gay for like a young dude who's not gay to have a fucking, but he's also a stoner, so it makes sense that her name was Puff Puff. Like, actually afterwards,
does he have a gal that co-owns this?
Well, no, it's my wife's grand dog. What do you call it? Like, yeah, it's a descendant of my wife's
Did
dog
he name it?
Kept.
Multi-poo.
My wife.
In breed? You mean in
it's
breeding?
not named. God
This is
damn,
getting
we're getting
really
off
fucking
target.
No,
Just
I'm
go
trying
back to the fucking
It's
story,
not,
man.
It's not named.
God.
It's not named.
I'm just
Malty
making
Poo.
sure. I don't want to say maybe your son's gay and you're just not wanting to recognize it.
Listen, one of my sons might be gay, and I'm aware of it. So I would know if this one was gay. He's not.
All right.
He's sensitive about.
You just called out the other one.
And they don't listen. By telling this story on the podcast, I'm counting on the fact that neither of my sons listen to the podcast, because I asked him if he wanted me to tell him what happened, and he said no. He's very sensitive about things, and this was his little dog. He had to put his other little dog down a couple months ago, and the only reason why this dog was at my house was because she was fucking lonely at his house because she didn't have her little dog friend. It's a whole sad fucking dog story.
Make it go embellish. Make it sadder. I want my fucking listeners to cry every now and then.
I don't know how to make it.
Do the wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Do that. And then,
Here's the thing: is that the whole situation is once again fucked up because I have to live with people who are sensitive emotions, have sensitive emotions, and I have zero. So I have to try to imagine what they're feeling and then mimic their feelings.
Pretend.
I have to pretend. I'm like
but once
So
in a
anyway,
while.
all right, here's the story. Here's the story. I was in the front yard. I let the little dog come outside with me. All the other dogs came outside with me in the front yard. The little dog can get out underneath my front fence, though. The rest of the dogs are fine. I was out fucking around in the yard. The little dog ran out underneath the fence because she acted more of a guard dog than any of the other dogs. So there was a big
Napoleon
dog
complex.
loose in the neighborhood from the neighbor's yard. She ran outside and tried to confront it, and that dog scooped it up immediately. So right away I hear
Terrible sound,
man. It's fucked. I turn around and it's fucked. This dog weighs 6 pounds, and this is like a black lab, mean dog that's picked her up, and I'm screaming like a motherfucker, let it go. And I'm not armed. I don't have anything on me. I don't have any way of defending this little dog other than just screaming. And the fucking dog looks at me. It's like probably 10 feet away from me. He looks at me with this little white dog in his mouth and just shakes that motherfucker and takes off.
With it in its mouth, right?
So now I'm out the gate and I'm chasing it, screaming at the top of my lungs to
Which is
fucking
good
let it go.
cardio, right? So,
well, that was one of the fucked up things actually later, because I called Jenny. I called Jenny to tell her that this had happened, and then I see while I'm on the phone that my Fitbit is on the fucking thing, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I just ran more than I have in the last fucking 10 years, and I wasn't wearing my Fitbit. So I chased it out through 3 yards. This dog was playing fucking hide and seek with me. The little dog stopped screaming before it was across my yard. Now it was a recovery mission. I'm just trying to get the dog back.
Find the body.
I know it's done, but the dog is just running. And he's running around trees like a fucking Three Stooges movie, and I'm chasing him around trees, and he's fucking hiding.
Benny Hill.
Yeah, Benny Hill music. And, yeah, I'm trying to minimize my fucking sociopathy here, because I've been watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. They have the new Mystery Science Theater 3000
with us in Greensboro
with Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
No, Jonah, the guy from Nerd Melt.
Is that where he's from?
Yeah.
He reminds me of J.D. Harmeyer for some reason.
I think he did really good. From Stern.
But the whole show is really good. But like sometimes I don't know, maybe it's just a bunch of people, but I feel like that I have like a commentary going because like I'm chasing him, screaming like dog, and I'm like emotionally invested in trying to stop him from killing this dog. But at the same time, there's like little robot dudes sitting in front of my story going like, holy shit, you better hope he kills it because that's a huge vet bill. And I'm like, shut up, motherfucker, I'm chasing a dog. Like, and I... At one point, Mary Jane, my American bulldog, who's a fucking beast at this point, figures out how to jump my fence and jumps the fence and follows me, which is the only reason why this fucking dog let my son's dog go. He went in a backfield behind the neighbor's yard and was burying it. He was digging he had a fucking I'm fat, I can't fucking run anyway, so I was pretty far behind it. But I wasn't trying too hard because I knew it was too late. But
hoping
it was I knew. But my dog showed up when that dog was burying it, and then that dog split. I was able to get my dog to fucking stay with me and pick up the little dog and take her back home. And it was.
Yeah, it's fucked.
I put her in I took her home. I didn't know what to do because I don't want to tell my son what happened. So I take her home and I put her in the back of my truck real quick while I run and put my dog in because I'm trying to because on my way back while I'm carrying the dog, all of a sudden this neighbor dog comes charging at me. And I realize immediately how vulnerable I am because I'm carrying this little tiny dead dog and I'm like, holy fuck, man. So I throw it in the back of my truck and run inside and get my pistol and rack around into it. This is where my gun comes into play because I was fucking ready to shoot this dog.
Well, that dog came at you.
Well, it started in my yard, so I could have technically shot the dog, but he was back in his yard as I was passing by growling at me. So when I went back out, I had to go tell the neighbor that her dog had just killed my dog.
Does this neighbor know you on any level?
This neighbor's cool.
No, they do.
This neighbor's cool as fuck. While I was here getting drunk and podcasting with you guys, and the other neighbor dogs attacked my goats, this neighbor came over and helped Jenny deal with the goats.
This is where the diplomacy.
Good neighbor. Right. But I showed up with a round racked in my 40 cal pistol. Because I don't trust this fucking dog anymore because it's definitely a mean motherfucker. But I need to tell her, your dog is mean as fuck and something needs to happen. So I go knock on the door, and then I realize I'm knocking on her door holding a loaded pistol. So, fuck. I hurried up, threw it in my pocket of my shorts.
I thought you were going to say, I got to kill someone.
Which I'm at home wearing fucking shorts in the middle of the day, so I put a 40 cal pistol in there, and now my pants are falling off.
Down.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to hold my pants up at the neighbor's house with a gun in my pocket. I'm like, is this
I put
dog?
a cell phone in my pocket at Safeway, and I forget to wear a belt, and the whole time I'm shoeing a cart one-handed while I pull the back of my shorts up.
But I didn't have. Neighbor was very nice. I didn't have any intention of shooting the neighbor. I did have intention of shooting the dog, but I was trying to be diplomatic. I knock on the door and I tell her, your dog came into my yard and fucking killed my dog. She comes outside, tears up, and tells me, shoot him. Wow. Shoot him. Multiple times she tells me, shoot him. I'm hand in my pocket still on a loaded fucking gun, and I'm a hair trigger away from fucking just pulling up and shooting him. What I wanted to do is just pull up, shoot it in her yard, and then just walk home without saying another fucking word because I was pissed off. But I'm trying to be diplomatic. She's helped Jenny with the goats. She has the dog actually belongs to a kid. It's not her dog. It's her son's dog. So I'm trying to keep in mind
yours.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's actually a kid.
Your son should have had a smaller dog.
Yeah.
Boom. Oh, let her son kill the dog. Old Yeller. Yeah.
Well, and she was like, and then afterwards she kept telling me, well, just shoot him. Just shoot him. And then I'm like,
it's kind of like, take my wife, please.
Yeah, well,
don't shoot me, shoot the dog.
I told her, I'll take no joy from shooting your dog, but I just wanted you to know that he's a bad dog and something needs to happen. That's, which is just diplomatic speak for it's hot as fuck outside. I don't want to shoot your dog. Shoot your own dog.
I'm tired of running.
I gotta go. Yeah, I've been fucking running. I gotta go home and bury a dog. Don't. So
you had a little help. You had a little help.
Which then she told me. It was later. Later on, she came over to the house, and I was still a fucking dick, and racked my slide out of my pistol and fucking jacked my loaded round right in front of her to show that I brought over a loaded pistol just to fucking, because. I don't know. I was pissed off still. I wanted to shoot the dog, but I was trying to be a diplomat.
The fact that you texted me, I knew you had to reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
And you never reach out to anybody.
It was yeah.
But she put it to you, shoot the dog. You back down.
Well,
as a diplomat.
Hang on.
No.
You phrased it wrong.
No.
He stepped up.
No, I did.
Back down.
I said as a diplomat.
Absolutely.
What the fuck is her deal coming to you like you do the dirty work? She probably fucking hated that dog. She's probably afraid of that dog
She
forever.
flat out told me, I don't want to bury him. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking bury him either. It's hot outside. I got to bury one dog already. I don't want to
shoot him, but you bury him.
Well, which was... The first time when she told me to shoot him, the very first thing I just pictured in my head was just fucking shooting him and walking away and not having a conversation. Which if I didn't, in a perfect world where I don't have to be neighbors with people, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But as it is, she's got like I don't know, he's like a pre-teenage boy who, now I'm worried about my dogs because he might have a vendetta. Of course.
And teenage boys are the worst fucking demons, and that's why we hire them for the military.
Yeah. I thought about killing the boy along with the dog just to protect my dogs.
Line them up.
I'm like, let's just fucking fix this. We don't want any problems in the future. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just how it is.
Mourn once.
Diplomat, but I didn't do that. We're waiting to see. We'll stay tuned for the health of my dogs in recent future.
The second text after you go, I'm tequila drunk, but don't worry, I'm good. Jobi's on his way over. So Jobi, who is really the perfect equalizer in this, Jobi's. He's like your whole life is fucked. But you, as far as someone to bring you down off the edge, whether it's Bingo or Chad, someone who is about. There's no one I'd call first.
Well, and the other fucked up thing is that I couldn't make any of the jokes that I wanted to make. Like I wasn't wearing my Fitbit, all of those things I thought about in real time.
So you texted me, and I read the text wrong immediately. And he texted, my neighbor's dog
killed my kid.
Killed my boy's dog. I read it wrong as my neighbor killed my boy's dog. So I'm like,
at which place there's no diplomacy. Yeah, no diplomacy in that matter.
I'm like, hold please. Let me check. And I run down immediately downstairs, crossed over, and I throw a hungry meal dinner at my mom. Like, fuck, I gotta go. And I leave. I load up a bunch of fucking tequila, and then I text him back. I'm like, on my way with a fuck ton of tequila. Let's do this. And I head over to Shank's, and with a barrel of fucking tequila. I didn't know at that point. And then I read it later on. It's like, neighbor's dog killed my boy's dog.
I thought you read. I thought what I remember. Well, you thought the neighbor's dog killed his son.
No, it was a neighbor killed.
That's a way bigger problem.
Yeah.
That's a lot more tequila.
That's some Juan.
Number one tequila.
Number one.
tequila. So
We'll do a shot of
that
Ron White's
happened-
tequila.
If that happened, it's gonna involve somebody smuggling tequila in their ass to me in prison because I'm gonna fucking kill somebody. I wanted to kill somebody over this, but I didn't.
fair enough. So yeah.
Well, this is the part that's really fucked up. Was Jobi
really
comes
fucked
over, my son and I start drinking tequila because I have a bottle of tequila, and I'm like, let's just drink some tequila. We had to Google how to drink. He was like, remember on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they have like you lick the salt and the lime, and I was like, I don't know how to fucking do it either. We just drink tequila.
This is as funny as when Junior Stopka didn't know how to pack clothes for a trip. He doesn't know how to do shots of tequila.
We just drink it. I never fucking did a thing, so we
ritual,
had to Google
some kind
it.
of ritual.
Yeah, so we started doing that with tequila. So we were already tequila buzzed before we invited Jobi.
Pretty
over.
buzzed,
But Jobi came over bearing more tequila and
I've got
margarita stuff.
Well, I've got Roger Klein's Mexican Moonshine, which is a really good tequila, and then Don Julio, and then I've got a bottle of Corlejo, which is great. Ooh. And so I've got some limeade and some oranges and limes, and I make a bunch of margaritas with the Corlejo, because you do not mix Don Julio or Roger Klein's Mexican Moonshine. You drink that shit straight.
Well, technically, he started to make some margaritas. At which point, I had
Where's
my
the
back
ice?
turned. I had my back turned and wasn't realizing what he was doing until Jenny was like, "Do you want to tell Jobi where the ice is?" And I turn around and Jobi is in my chest freezer, where usually when Jobi doesn't come over often, but he comes over.
Fights.
Yeah, chick fights. And Jenny will get a garbage
These are
bag.
on TV, by the way. They are not actual chicks fighting in his yard, as you might imagine.
Jenny will get a garbage bag full of ice from Schlotzsky's, and that's the ice we use whenever we're
in their locker freezer.
It's a longer story. Let's not.
No. It is the story.
Yeah.
Because
I go for ice to make the margaritas, and I go to the locker freezer, and there's a garbage bag, and I grab it and I roll it over. I'm like, this doesn't feel like ice, and I open it up and I see a blanket.
Oh no!
And I
didn't see it going this way.
I shut it immediately, and at the same time I see the blanket, I shut it down, and then Chad, I hear from the back, he's like, "Ice is over here, man!" Yeah, I already knew it, and he's trying to keep it cool. I'm trying to keep it cool, and I wrap it all down, and I shut the chest, and I walk over like nothing happened. It's like, okay, well, that's a dead dog in the freezer.
I don't want to play into any Asian stereotypes, but my wife does have a dead dog in the freezer right now.
She is Asian.
I wanted to laugh so fucking hard.
We were dying.
Neither one of us could laugh.
Yeah.
Both of us. Well, we're dealing with sensitive people. I can't.
Yeah.
That's why.
You.
That's
Yes,
right. That's why I invited Jobi over, was because I knew that he could silently at least be as irreverent as I was while we're being polite.
Keep a little bit of decorum, you know. But yeah, when I flipped it over, I'm like, this doesn't feel like ice. Okay. This feels like a little body.
Those margaritas would have sucked.
Oh my god.
Yeah. We did talk about this.
Yeah. But what a great tribute.
We did talk about this on a podcast where I forget that Chad can hear our podcasts should he choose to. Yeah. We're like, I would love to do a tour of just live podcasts. But I go, Chad, he gets weirded out with people. And then you, days later...
I don't usually listen, but I like to fucking keep up with you guys.
You go, yeah, I'll fucking do that. I just want to get the fuck out of my hometown. And that's where Brett Erickson responded with, Yeah, that's like a week 1 out of 3 weeks response.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good for the first week, as we were.
Did you see what I responded with? More like week 0 from the comfort of home. Yeah. No, I get it.
Sounds like a good idea.
I get
in
it.
theory.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, I don't want to hurt
Hennigan
nobody.
will be up next, and he'll tell us. Well, next on the next podcast, anyway. I already looked at you, not even listening, and just.
I was listening, but I didn't have anything.
Yeah, no, but I was
doesn't
your
care
story.
about your
We'll save
feelings.
that because we're probably at fucking 2 hours right now. So
Worth waiting for.
we'll say goodnight, then we'll go back. Wait, do you have more?
No, I didn't even have
Dog's
that much.
not
I'm
dead, or
surprised
is
at
it?
what I had.
See? So yeah, we would love to try to actually put together just a 3-week tour of. We'll talk to Hennigan when he's relevant about what markets.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the road, like stand-up wise, we know what markets we do good in. Podcast wise, Bisbee, people listen to podcasts and they watch TV through their laptops or their cell phones because it's not a huge market for stand-up. So to go to Austin with a live podcast, probably not. Maybe go towards San Angelo. I don't fucking know where the podcast listeners are listening from. Where do we do this? But we'll do it in small markets that we never do. Kind of like working out this new set. Anyway.
Oh, places that have low expectations. I like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm a fan of that.
Absolutely.
Wait, we're going back to Montana?
Hey.
No, lower.
We did.
Altus, Oklahoma.
Alabama.
Yeah, but Alabama we never play.
Let's do Idaho. You lived in Cloud? Can we do?
Yeah, no, we play there. We actually have a following.
Cloud. Where you lived for a while?
No.
Fucking
They
shithole
don't
bar.
Listen to me.
That's
be
where
awesome.
we went when I went with you guys
Yeah.
last time.
That'd be
What's
awesome.
the one in? Where's the fucking the God hates fags? It's not Wichita. It's Kansas. What Kansas?
Trying to think.
It's Arkansas is not the capital of Kansas. You fucking Armenian.
It's not Lawrence. I know that.
I thought you said you were looking for another
Kansas City, Kansas.
No,
I'm thinking of Sebastian. Sebastian Bach.
Anyway, the
Cabot.
point is, yeah, we'll do a quick, maybe even 2 weeks, and just go out and do live podcasts in 100-seaters, nothing more. Because we tried that early on. We tried to do a live podcast.
No, we did it.
After a show in Austin. Oh, yeah, we did it. But it was in Austin with 600 standing people that
It was,
already...
the week after, the smell of urine permeated everything before your show, and it was all
Biker weekend.
It was a week after South by Southwest, and we'd set up merch. Everything smelled like urine.
No, everything's a fucking festival in Austin.
But it wasn't the crowd, or it wasn't you. It was who we had on the podcast.
Oh, no, it was the crowd, too. We had the drunkest comics, Andy, and I don't even know who else. Everyone was, all the comics were shit-faced. We're trying to do it after a 2-hour standing show at Red 7. So everyone that had sat through 2 hours was welcome to keep standing shit-faced while all of our comic guests, and we were new at podcasting. We couldn't control this. We tried it. We didn't air it.
I've listened to it once, and to be honest, it might be listenable now that I can work it. But I remember the best thing was at the end where you had a suicide girl, and you said, "This is the only chick who's in porn that can make sex uninteresting."
I guess I was being honest.
It was brutal.
Might be good for the podcast, but not for our relationship.
So So what you're saying is, at the end of the night, I can expect a fight, if nothing else.
Oh, I wish.
No, you will be whisked off. If you even have a twinkle in your eye of anger, someone will be designated to whisk you back to the shitty hotel room, motel. Let's go honest, motel.
We've learned a little in the last 3 years.
Day in, if your girl starts acting up. Maybe I get this.
Sing a hill.
All right, that's a podcast. The next one will be Brian Hennigan, who has torturous stories about eye surgery. We have 3 of us here with bad eyes.
Current or previous?
I feel your pain.
No, we're going to shut this down. Don't get him started on something he doesn't want to finish. He already has a pissy look in his eye, is what I was going to say. And then
Which
I
one?
realized-
I was going to say that all your
Yeah,
there you go.
certainly do it
Incoming.
offline.
all your little sad stories of having bumps under your fucking eyelid. Oh my God, that must be so sore. How do you cope with that? Wait till you hear what I'm going to have to do to keep eyesight in my eyes.
Oh, no.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he tried to tell me this on the road.
What have you done?
LASIK, we're
Fuck off! LASIK! That's the girl
Jobi.
guides of fucking international mercenaries.
Wait, you know what?
We teased it.
Hang on.
We teased it.
Hang on.
Have you had anal surgery?
Hang on. Shush.
well, Hennigan has
For your eye?
Apparently, he's
I think you got tricked.
Stop with the. We're trying to close this out. The guy that we have to have on this with Jobi is Shawnee, because Shawnee is the only one close to Hennigan. I think Shawnee's minus 2,300 and Hennigan's minus 2,500. That's as opposed to
What's that mean?
2020.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 20 versus 2,300.
It ain't good.
Neither of them are good. And Shawnee just got done where he couldn't fucking work for months because of one eye surgery.
Wow.
That's why we just had to wait for fucking 8 months to get the deck he did redone.
Yeah, make me feel good with my fucking
That
eyes.
explains why they missed all the screws in the yard.
All right.
Look at Brian.
Let's just wrap this up. And hey, hang on. I got to do some thank yous. We're going to close this out with thank yous. No, we're going to throw that back
hold
in.
on, hold on. Start over with
No,
thank
I'm gonna close out with the thank yous. Fuck, hang on, Chaille. We got to talk about a couple things before we go that we should have started with, but I wanted to hear Chad while he was fucking ripe.
We can do it later, but go ahead.
No, fuck this. We're doing it now.
Doing it live.
Doing it live.
We left with the Ron White, whatever that was. It'll live with whatever we recorded. But then we had to do another show, the last show. We did 2 shows in Atlanta, and the first show, Ron White shows up. I immediately went to the front desk when I heard Ron White was going to be at the show, and I said, do you have one of those travel toothbrushes? Because I know I'm not going to be back in the morning. And they did not, and I was right. I needed it.
I hope this is a teaser for the next podcast, because I really want to hear this.
This is a teaser from, because I don't remember the podcast where I needed a toothbrush. Then we had to go back and do another show in Atlanta at a different place.
Last night of the tour.
The last night of the tour. I only know from pictures that I had to follow Brett Erickson, and I went out by laying down on the stage in my suit, waiting for him to close. Rather than wait for him to introduce me, I crawled out on the stage and laid down. And then there was a girl that got thrown out.
For 45 minutes.
I didn't notice, but I from old school days of Brett Erickson, I remember once he said, hey, shut your cum catcher. I know there's an issue in the audience, but I forgot by that time, and I tried to be nice. I don't know. I got some hate. I got 2 hate mails. Hennigan, you can chime in on this if you want, because this won't be part of yours. It started in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
And we did that Doug Stanhope and Friends style. Morgan Murphy happened to be there just to show up anyway, so I forced her to be on the bill. and then Junior stopped. So I went up, I did 20, then I go up in between them, do 20, and then I come out, do 20. Someone sent me a fucking email.
You're again, talking of sensitive souls, you're very sensitive about, you get one duff email, and
which verifies everything I think about myself. You're worthless. You had no material. You should have
this
just
guy's
canceled the
thing
show.
was something along the lines of, I'm a huge Doug Stanhope fan, and I know what Doug Stanhope comedy is.
I'm going to prove it right now.
And that show in Boston was atrocious. I brought 2 friends.
I don't think it was that detailed.
Bring her.
Oh, it was.
Nice.
All right. Well, it started like that, then it ended like that after this show. And I don't know that the guy was wrong, but that fucked up show that I did at the end, where I'm just trying to stay alive on Adderall and 2 days of solid drinking. Chaille, I told Chaille, you should just stay home. I'll do an hour and 35 just off notes. Erickson shouldn't be there.
This is at 4 o'clock.
Chaille shouldn't be there. They haven't slept whatsoever. I at least got 2 hours.
I spoke to you on the phone.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
We did laps in the pool, but we're fine.
By this time, Erickson, by showtime, leaving for the show, Erickson's taking a 2-hour nap. So now we've gone from Erickson being the drunkest to Chaille being the drunkest to me going, just both of you stay home, let me take the bullet, and I'll just do this fucking show at Ye Old Smith's Pub or some fucking place. It wasn't a bad place. It sounded bad in my head, but just let me take the bullet. And then I did whatever. The girl got thrown out. She sent a million fucking tweets and Facebooks and literally 30-something Facebook tweets. I got curbed. They threw me to the curb. I remember, listen, I was in a double, triple blind blackout. I remember every part of you from stage. Yeah. What happened afterwards? I know I just told you to shut up. I had sense memory of Brett Erickson. Oh, wait, are you the one he said, shut your cum catcher? Because I know Erickson did his first CD he put out was a CD from Peoria on a late show Friday known as the White Apollo Def Comedy Jam of hecklers. And he did a whole CD of just him not doing material, just fuck you and shut your cum catcher. So when he said that, it was a blast from the past. And when you started talking to me, lady that kept tweeting, I knew it was you. I was I remember you're the one I heard him yelling at 3 minutes ago before I crawled up on all fours and slept waiting for my introduction. And I said, listen, you got to shut up. You can nod yes or no, but this is not a conversation, which a lot of people, when they're fucked up or they're just huge crazy fans, and this is something I'm going to work on, is when is it okay to mock insane people? My last special, I was a advocate for mentally ill, but at some point you're gonna go, you know what, fuck you, and she was one of those. But evidently,
well, it's almost a case of like there are people who won't accept they're mentally ill.
She doesn't even know she. At that point, I'm mentally ill from fucking 2.5 days of Ron White. So I just get through the show. I get hate mail. I didn't get it till the next morning, but I saw he sent it within 20 minutes of the end of the show. That was bullshit. That was worthless and pathetic. I can't believe I wasted $70 on this. And the next day, when I could figure out, Hennigan helped me.
You called.
I wrote back and I said, listen, I would really hope that you would have said that was a waste of 2 hours rather than a waste of $70. why do you have to monetize everything? Life is too short to worry about money. You'll make $70 back, but worry more about how you spend your leisure time. I was pumping him up to send proper hate mail that's empowering to him.
Fucking diplomat.
You did have a PS.
Unbelievable.
P.S.
Something along the lines of,
Oh, did I really do a show last night? And where are my pants?
I seem to be missing $70.
There it is.
I think you kind of helped me with some of those tags, Brian, to give you full credit.
They're good.
Other notes I have: stevia is an artificial sweetener. Stop selling me fucking Flying J, truck stop, Southeastern, shithole fucking, I need a fucking snack and a drink. No artificial sweeteners and no calories. Oh, if you look at the fine print, it has stevia, which tastes like fucking toxic waste. Oh, it might be natural, however you figure that out. It's not natural. Stevia is fucking as awful as aspartame. That's something I was really mad about. I still am.
It's also, sorry.
Go ahead.
Stevia is the only really big problem with the concluding episode of Breaking Bad.
Wow, that was not going where I thought it was going to go.
All right, let's
You
get
got
to
that?
the thank yous. Fuck stevia. Stevia is probably causes cancer. You know what? Tobacco is going to give me cancer. It's natural. No, it's not natural if you do it in the wrong way. And stevia, you're doing in the wrong way by calling it a sweetener and saying, oh, it's 0 calories. It tastes as bad as fucking Sweet and Low. What's the blue packet? Between Sweet and Low.
Splenda.
Thank you.
That's yellow.
And that guy comes
Splenda's
from the
yellow.
fucking...
Wait, what's saccharin?
Saccharin.
How much?
The salt mines of Moria.
Let's get
The
to...
Mines of Moria.
Let me get to... Actually, I remember one. Hank sauce.
Hey!
Hank sauce is not even on my list. But
Camouflage.
Hank sauce is evidently... they're seasonal. So they just found out we plugged them. And they said, hey, we just heard, I guess we live under a rock, but we heard you plugged us and we didn't send you something in return. And I go, don't worry, we bought it. We have Hank sauce money at this point. I'm not dropping the mic that we can afford 12 bottles of the best fucking...
Hank sauce is my second favorite sauce behind Jobi's spice
Jobi's
sauce.
Spite Sauce, yes.
Jobi's local, but
But yeah, you can't get it, so that was just kind of a fuck you.
Soon you
Ain't
can.
Hank sauce.
Available at the Farmers
Maybe
Market
we
in
said you
Bisbee
can
on
get it.
Saturday mornings.
Jobi's bitching about not being able to get work. Maybe we send him to southern New Jersey seasonally to help Hank Sauce make the ultimate. All right, here's the thank yous. George Callis,
Yeah, George Callis.
who's local here, dropped something off just after we left. It was a first aid kit with a
It sure
bunch of
was.
mini bottles and lubricants and rubbers, and it was and he lived here, and he just said thanks. 2 people, Stanhope, in Stanhope, New Jersey, where I want to
There's a
tape my
place.
next special.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I know you're against it.
I'm not against it.
A special. Let's say a special, not the next one. Stanhope House, home of the blues in Stanhope, New Jersey. Rich Voss sent me a T-shirt. I just I used
talk
to have
comedy?
one. And someone else in the same mail bag I got when I got home, someone sent me a Stanhope, New Jersey police badge, which I also have one of that someone sent me. So now I have 2 of both. But thank you, Rich Voss.
Rich.
I should actually text you and say thanks because you
Rich
don't listen
Voss.
to fucking podcasts. You're a comic. Jim Jam Saunders is the one who sent the patch.
Jimmy Jam.
We already talked about
Terry
Ron
Lewis.
White's tequila. Someone sent me a package, a 6-pack of UK smokes, as did Brian Hennigan bring me a 10-pack.
What a
Not
mensch.
to one-up you. Someone sent olive oil. These are all people who sent shit without a name. So someone sent us a 4-pack of olive oil extra virgin.
Everything, garlic. It was all infused.
Chili,
Yeah,
basil.
You had four bottles of it.
We can,
That was Blue Apron.
we can make this like your last.
Going back to that.
We can make this like your last release. Like it's like ISIS and terrorism. Anyone can claim they sent these things.
Yeah.
They can just tweet, I sent that.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah,
We're
no
just getting
provenance.
through the thank yous. Then we'll go back and we'll plug in the plugs later. Someone who steals from Boeing sends us all this Boeing shit. So we have a dozen Boeing coffee mugs, a dozen Boeing
they're very
The hats.
baseball
They're
hats.
very nice.
And they're beautiful.
Everything is top
I was
quality.
gonna.
I grabbed two of the hats
I like
immediately.
them. I like them a lot.
Yeah,
No,
everyone's
they're all-
taking the Boeing
No,
baseball
it's
hats.
quality.
I was hoping it was engine parts they were sending in.
That's en route right now.
Did we not talk about that? Because the guy that used to send us engine parts said he finally got fired.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that sent you engine parts. He was hoping we were going to build a drone or a fucking North Korean missile ballistic.
Fucking AWAC.
Can we bring
Johnny
Flight
Cash
N371 into this?
I got one piece
Yellow
of
bird.
time.
Yellow bird habanero sauce. Someone
Yeah.
sent that. A girl named Lina sent Stay Weird bracelets.
Oh.
Someone sent an eyeglass repair kit that I don't know if maybe I ordered that myself and I'm
think
giving someone credit.
It's possible.
point.
Yeah, I think
Sounds
so.
familiar.
It sounds very familiar.
That's a perfect on the road kit. So
Where's
let's go with
Jobi?
this.
Jobi, get over here to close this out because somebody
Sorry.
went way back in time
Oh, yeah.
and sent us a pillow where on one side it says lifting and the other side says laying out. Because years ago, before we did a podcast, we were tweeting, texting, calling on a phone. We were doing a
Back
yard
in the day,
sale.
remember when you called each other on the phone?
It had to be texting because we sent a picture.
Yeah.
And we
that's
sent
right. Yeah,
Brendan
that's right.
Walsh
Yeah, get with the times, bakery boy.
from the Bone Zone podcast, Brendan Walsh. We sent him pictures of us
That's right.
lifting and laying out. This is before Jersey Shore.
Oh, way before that. And I was having a garage sale, and we were
Yeah.
lifting, and we took pictures
Pretending.
of
Yeah.
that. Pretending, yeah, because, obviously we're weak.
You don't obviously.
But yeah,
And then laying
we're
out
greased
because
up,
we're weak as well.
laying on top of the hood of his fucking, what is it, the DeLorean.
No, not DeLorean, yeah.
Either way, we're greased up and we're pretending to be lifting and laying out like we would do in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
Someone found that. Maybe it was Jobi himself that sent that.
I did not send it to myself.
I don't know.
Jesus
We
Christ.
didn't have a
was your-
podcast back then.
Maybe it was your
No, you
geriatric
sent it
finger
to
banging
me.
cousin.
Whoa, fuck.
Geriatric.
No, he
Oh,
didn't.
wait, two more things. I got two more beats because I'm not going to force them in.
Hey, remember when this podcast was over?
Yeah.
Two more beats.
Geriatric finger fucking.
As we're leaving, hang on. As we're leaving, Chaille. As we're leaving Atlanta, fucked out of our skull, and we still had a 6-hour layover at the Delta Sky Club. We both got recognized at the Sky Club, Chaille and I got recognized going in as a guy's coming off the elevator, and he goes, "I know you." And I'm wearing a stupid suit. That's the only reason you'd recognize me from comedy. He goes, "I know you." And I'm getting on the elevator as it's starting to close. And he goes, "We traveled together." He didn't know me from comedy. "You were doing your mileage run and we flew from Hawaii." He
Africa.
recognized me because I sat next to him in a stupid suit when I was trying to get fucking diamond status coming back from Hawaii drinking with Roseanne.
Oh, fuck.
But then in the 6 hours that we had to sit in that Sky Club, Chaille, close it out. Tell him how you got recognized.
We realized we had to switch concourses. So I go, "Doug, I'm going to rush to our concourse." We did the gate change. And he goes, "As long as you get to a bar right next to the new gate."
Right.
And I get in there, but I'm like flustered. I put up my guitar, I put everything down, and I go, we sit here, and I see these like 4 people looking at me. And then it's 3 guys, like roughneck dudes, and 1 gal. And she goes, "I got to ask you." I go, what? But it's like it's not the bartender. It's someone standing next to me. He goes, I gotta ask you, are you Squiggy from Laverne
Squiggy?
and Shirley?
What the fuck?
Laverne and Shirley.
Squigulum.
Look, I know I've been on a
Squiggy.
2-day bender.
Jesus Christ.
He told me
I
this.
see it.
I thought they were making
Jack.
a joke. They were not joking.
No, the 3 guys at the end, we
Jesus
walked
Christ.
out of there in 20 minutes, and they're like, that's fucking Squiggy. David Lander
Squiggy.
is his name. That's
Yeah.
fucking Squiggy. They were convinced. That even when I was, and she was like backing up the whole thing,
Wow.
they were like, fuck him. He's fucking lying. Like, I have
Yeah.
something to, like, I don't want to sign any more autographs or something. Jesus Christ.
Go back to Queensryche. That was the reference. You look more like that guy.
Jeff Tate.
All right. Hey,
Yes.
coming up on the next podcast, as we assume,
Brian
or
Hennigan.
maybe not, is Brian Hennigan talking about
Yes.
how they're going to cut his eye out with a chainsaw.
I brought physical things to show Chaille while I'm talking about it.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Chaille's an easy puker.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Sure, for
Save
sure.
it.
That's why it's worth
You won't be
getting
able
it
to
past
handle
TSA.
Hello, ladies.
Is that a close? I did pause. What are we closing on?
Close
We're
like
going back
we're
to
leaving. We're leaving
leads.
right now. Leave on a song.
Hang on. We're going to close on Fame Riot because they were so excited that they go, oh, my God, they closed on our song last time? That was a few times ago. And they go, hey, can we do your podcast? And I said, yeah, when are you going to be in Bisbee?
Yeah.
And now I think they're reconnoitering their tour to be here soon. So, yeah, Fame Riot. Here's Fame Riot.